Stocks are crashing, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm looking to buy while there's this weakness currently in the market. I'm going to go about exactly what my trade plan is, and it's also very important to understand that as these are my top 5 names that I'm looking to really buy right now, I will also be adjusting these as we see fit. So some I might slow down on buying over the next few weeks, some I might add in, and some I might just double down even further. A few of them will stay there, and I will just keep buying them no matter what. Let's get to work. Now, it's important to understand what's happening here on SPY. SPY, relatively speaking, when you look at the higher time frames, I know a lot of people don't. When you look at the daily time frame, for instance, this is the SPY chart. You broke back below your previous all-time high there at 674. That is definitely an issue. But again, you're not really it's not a crash yet. I want to make that really clear. Like, you're seeing crash, it's clickbait, yeah, but it's not really a crash, okay? You're still above your 50-day moving average, and really that's been your pivot point, if you will, over the past few months, since we rebounded from, obviously the tariff massacre, and you bounced back above. You kind of been holding that for the time being. So until that flips, I really don't think you can even get super concerned. But as of right now, these are the 5 biggest names that I think are the most interesting. Now, obviously, some I'm going heavier, some I'm a little bit more cautious with. So I want to make that really clear. And the cheaper names, obviously, I'm more cautious with. But the first name is going to be none other than NVIDIA. It is the #1 stock, and I could basically make a whole video around why I think NVIDIA is the stock to buy nonstop. But again, let's just break down a few things. Number one, I know everyone's gonna be like, well, Michael Burry, Tyler, he's shorting NVIDIA. I really don't care. Again, people are allowed to make their decisions. There's always someone going short against a stock that I'm going long on. The same thing with you. If you're going long on a stock, there's someone out there going short against it, and you don't know who they are. So this really changes nothing. You cannot let the mental aspect of what someone else is doing with their money affect what you're doing with your money. You can't affect how you're gonna affect your trading every single day. Again, that's my personal opinion. Now, again, the biggest thing here is NVIDIA's most recent statement. And again, I don't think people really thought about this. So let me paint you a really quick picture on NVIDIA, okay? So your most recent earnings, okay, going back to, what was this, September, August, right? You did 46 million. Before that, you did 44 million. Before that, you did 39. Before that, you did 35. So let's just average them all together and say you did 40 million at each earnings. Let's say 41 million at each earnings, right? So that'd be around $164 billion, billion dollars in a year over 4 quarters. Now, this is the interesting part about it. That's $164 billion over the course of a year. And now if you added, another 40, and 40, another 80, so another 2 quarters on that, that'd be around $240 billion, give or take, right? Very important to understand that. NVIDIA came out and said, we are on pace just based off of orders we have received right now through the end of 2026 to do $500 billion total in orders. Yes, you heard that right. 500 billion, almost doubling their entire revenue. That is absurd. The most beautiful thing here is NVIDIA is the #1 stock in the market. Okay, again, I'm not telling you to YOLO. I'm not telling you to go crazy. I'm not telling you it's the safest name in the entire world, which some things I do believe, some things I'm not going to comment on. But again, when numbers don't lie. And when companies are bringing in money like this, it's a good thing to see. They're better than their competitors, and they are killing it. Very, very important to understand that. NVIDIA is the top dog, the head honcho. Now, areas where I'm looking to buy, let's clarify that for you real quick. Now, the biggest level you're watching here is around 184. That is going to be a massive test of your previous all-time high. We saw how we reacted there. We might be getting into leaps sooner than that. I'm not really sure yet. We'll talk all about that inside of Discord. I'll make other videos about it when I buy them. But again, 184 is a massive level. Besides that, if you break below the 50 SMA, which you've seen, we kind of held that for a while now, like most of these other names. Again, the 50 SMA has been a huge help. If by some chance if there's any, I don't know, like if something crazy happens in the market and we see like a flash crash on NVIDIA, and you drop down to 155 to 151, I don't know what I would do, to be honest. I would probably scrap every other name that I'm looking to buy and probably put all my eggs in one basket, which is not a smart thing to do. But I just think it's worth the risk because NVIDIA is printing money head over heels. So again, love to see it. And I think NVIDIA is head honcho. And I don't think NVIDIA is in bubble. There's other names that are in the bubble of AI, semis. I don't think NVIDIA is there. Very important to understand that, okay? And before we go any further, I forgot to do this. If you guys want to see what we're trading, how we're trading every single day, the Discord link is down below for you. Again, I want to highlight right now, this is not a get-rich-quick Discord. You're not going to get 40 trades a day. I just post what I'm doing, what I'm looking to invest in, and that's like the number one thing I want people to understand. If I'm not trading, I'm not going to post a trade because I'm not taking the trade. People get upset about that, which is weird. Isn't that what you would want? Anyways, so you get futures every single day, bright and early. And again, today was a crazy day because like last night we made the video, I was looking for the break to the upside. And again, even at market open, but I said, look, if you break below this, we're looking for the downside here under 26.75, looking for the big crush. Obviously, NASDAQ got destroyed on the day, go futures. And then a step from there, we also go into trade areas. We're more into swing trades. We actually entered a swing trade today. And then also into technicals, these are all of our scalps. And it was a monster day. Meta, Amazon, what else? We traded something else too. I can't even remember. But anyways, it was crazy. Amazon was the big juicer, so I think Nvidia was another name, but they were all there for you. All the links are down below. Have a good one and make sure if you're interested, check it out. So, okay, now going a little bit further, we already went into Nvidia, and honestly, I don't want to stay on this. So, again, next one, Meta. We're gonna start big. We're gonna work our way down. When you look at Meta, I think Meta. I don't know if you're necessarily at the point where I'm like buying Meta yet. I haven't bought any. I want to clarify. But I do believe Meta, number one, from earnings, is getting hit in an unfair way. I don't think that this is a logical dip here on Meta. That being said, there's a lot of inherent weakness. I'd be willing to bet this hits around $600 personally. Now, obviously, if the market starts bouncing back and we see Meta bouncing back, I'll probably get aggressive sooner than later. But still, as I'm looking at this, I like Meta a lot. And again, this is one of those names over the past 2 years, this is the run that you had, okay? So, even if you took advantage of your previous dip back in, February, going through, the whole tariff thing all the way down to 490, it was one of the best buys you could have had. Now, Meta, again, why they are dumping, why they are dropping. Now, their earnings, if you don't remember, so again, pull them up. You see this EPS right here, the expected was 6.7, it reported 105, right? And the miss by 84% on EPS, the revenue did beat. It was because they paid a massive tax bill, which is due to Trump's new tax regulations, et cetera. Zuckerberg went in detail about it. But anyways, they're never going to pay that again. So the next earnings, they're going to be right back to where they were. Revenue still on pace. They are spending a lot of money on AI build out, data centers, et cetera. I'm not concerned. They're printing money. And their earnings, they went into detail about how they're making their money and why they can't really slow down and spend, because they slow down and spend, then they're basically capping how much money they can make. So again, you can go into it and go read their earnings for yourself, but I really am a fan of Meta as well. Again, tried and true name, big fan. Now going more into levels, I'm really looking to get aggressive at. Down here at 601, 600, I think you have to, for me, I have to start a position, even if it's just buying a few shares. And then you get a little bit more interesting as you come down further. These other previous highs you had down here as well, near 545, 530. Now, again, this is more in the catalyst of like if the NASDAQ and S&P 500 actually start dipping, right? I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Again, I want to highlight right now, when you're looking at SPY, looking at NASDAQ, whatever, SPY is still very high. Okay, you haven't broken down. If we start making lower highs, I think you hit the pause on options and you start just looking at stock by just deploying money into stock. And then as you're bouncing back up, like previously with SPY when you dumped during tariffs, you were looking at stock buying the entire way down. But the second you remounted the 200 daily moving average, you shifted from stock to options. And so you held your stock, obviously, but then you started shifting quickly into, okay, which stocks do I love the most? Because I'm going long and getting leaps on those. It's a pretty safe bet. And obviously that really worked out for us, for the last run. And it's kind of worked out for us before. If I go down to our last, big dip, we go all the way back to 2022 through 2023, 2020, early 2023. Again, you got back with a 200 SMA, you mounted it here. The rest was really history, right? So again, keep your head on a swivel, know what you're looking for. But again, kind of how my mind's working with the grand scheme of things. I'm not just unloading rapidly into these names. These are just my top and biggest watches. So again, I love Meta, and I think you got to have big stocks in there that you're watching. You can't just be buying cheap names. If you're the guy that's only buying like very cheap stocks, like that are like, okay, well, I won't buy a stock for over $30 because I won't make any money. Market cap has a big play in that as well, just a heads up, maybe do some research. But anyways, next name, SoFi. I've talked a lot about SoFi. SoFi is getting a dip. So SoFi, you've been holding your 50 MA. You can see that level holding out there. And again, this is just what happens when the market dips. And, people get, so wrapped up like, oh my God, my stock is great. I don't know why it's dipping. I use the analogy of raining, right? And you can actually see we rejected at 30.3. If it's raining outside and someone was like, man, they look at the window like, why is my car getting wet? That doesn't make any sense. I have the nicest car. I have the anti, I have the weatherproof paint on it. Why is it wet? I'd be like, well, Terry, it's raining outside. He'd be like, what? I don't believe in that. It shouldn't be raining on my car. That's craziness. So again, you have to understand when the market dips, the market dips. So again, when you're seeing SoFi, this is a strict stock buy for me. I am waiting right now to buy more at 25, and then if you break below 25, I will be hitting the brakes, waiting till $18-20, the 200 daily moving average. If I miss out, I miss out. It is what it is. I've done a lot of deep dives on SoFi here on the channel. You can go and watch the videos, specifically around the earnings. I've gone very in detail with those. So if you want to get more information, go watch those videos. I think I did a pretty decent job breaking down why I like them, the growth of the company. It's like a mini little Robinhood meets a bank. So really exciting what's happening there. HIMS, this has been one of my favorite mid small cap stocks out there. Number one, I like the way that they're functioning as a business. I like kind of how they're attacking the business as well. They're also seeing pretty good revenue growth, which is what I care the most about. Their EPS isn't incredible. I do want to highlight that. They didn't do a great job on profitability here, but revenue, you want to see this continue to scale up. This will work itself out. This is what I'm worried about, getting closer to $1 billion in revenue. And again, I like HIMS a lot. Now, again, this is like my second big buy zone here. I haven't started buying shares. I was more focused on a few other things here on the day. If you break below $40, your massive buy zone is gonna be near 35 to 36. I'll be unloading and buying more shares. So again, what I like there as well, make that clear. HIMS is one of my I would say HIMS and SoFi are my top two mid caps that I like the most, and I don't feel like there's too much risk in the long game with those either. And honestly, God, like the fact that you've spent so much time here, I just feel so comfortable getting it. So again, like HIMS a lot. Next up is going to be Tempest AI. This is the riskiest name on the list for sure. Now it's worth mentioning they aren't profitable. I want to make that really clear. This is not a profitable company. However, they are one of those companies that is on the massive AI spend and trying to grow and be one of the winners of the AI race. And this is again who Nancy Pelosi was buying early parts of the year. Now you can see this red line's your 200 daily moving average. You had a great test back in July. I'm hoping for a great test here in November. Okay. If you can get a November test, I will be very interested. You broke through your big support quick and easy today. Now I will say there's a lot of selling, so it makes sense, but definitely worth mentioning, worth watching. Now I do want to highlight one big thing with the mid caps like HIMS, SoFi, Tempest. Okay. IWM. Now, if we are getting a more aggressive dip, you need to understand where IWM is. Okay. Now, this is something I've talked a lot about. I've hammered home. I've said it like, I don't know how many times. I think this is one of the biggest opportunities, but it could hurt you really bad if you overextend too soon. Now, again, I haven't loaded into a lot of these options yet because I've been kind of patient, and thank God I have. So again, IWM is breaking back down, and we've seen this range play out for almost 5 years now. So it's absolutely insanity. But again, that is where you're at. So you have to respect this. And IWM is the mid cap ETF. And it's worth mentioning that guess what, guys? This is the index that's actually breaking below its 50-day moving average, which I think IWM, as far as Bitcoin, can be big signs for risk on versus risk off. And this losing is not ideal. Now, granted, you're seeing some green in the after hours. Again, Nasdaq's even bouncing a little bit in the after hours as well. So I do want to clarify that. However, just got to understand the risk there. So I will say SoFi, HIMS, Tempest at a bigger risk. I would be more conservative looking to buy these in the long-term portfolio. However, I still like all of the names. Again, I think it would be a solid play. And again, you still have a lot of people, insiders, buying Tempest as well. Now, the last name is going to shock some people. Again, it's going to shock some people. Two of the names that I like long-term are names that Michael Burry is short on. Palantir. Now I want to make something very clear about Palantir. And again, I'm going to keep updating Palantir stock. A few of these stocks I constantly make videos on: SoFi, Palantir, and then like Nvidia is in almost every single daily video. So if you want to get more information, just check them out. Now, like I said with Palantir, it's important to understand their earnings, in my opinion, were great. Revenue growing, the commercial side of the business is growing great. If you didn't watch my last video on Palantir, if you want to know the ins and outs, what they do, how they're making money on the commercial side, not just with governments, I think it's a good video to break it down. I think I broke it down pretty well. But when you look at Palantir, I think they are going to be, like I said, one of the AI companies that comes out of this on top. That's my mentality and how I view them. They're doing a great job. Do I think they're overvalued right now? I do. 100%. I do. Am I going to get aggressive buying them right now? No. Do I think if they dip down towards the 200 daily moving average or they dip down closer to 100, that's a great buy? I think it's a phenomenal buy. I do. If you look at their revenue, it's growing, it's accelerating a little bit quicker. To me, that's the craziest part, that you're seeing an acceleration kind of, as you're getting bigger, which is awesome, right? So you're growing actually by more percent. So it's a bigger compounding actual gain. But again, as you look at Palantir right now, you're breaking the 50 SMA. I would love to see this come down towards 160 to 161, see the reaction from there. But ultimately from there, the bigger dip that we really want to see is going to be further down here as well, near 145 to 200 SMA. And then ultimately just retest the previous all-time highs around 125, which is where you dipped earlier this year with all the tariff implications and what happened with all that. So again, would I be tracking, would I be watching? Still really excited. But again, Palantir is one of those names I would definitely have on my watch list. Despite Birdie going short, I don't really care. Again, I don't think they're slowing down on revenue. Where these companies, specifically like Palantir and Tempest, become an issue, more Palantir, is if the growth stalls and stops. If that happens, they're going to get hit. Then they kind of lose their edge, right? But right now, I don't think they've really broken through, especially on Palantir, to where that's going to be an issue. I think they still have at least another year of great growth, and I think they're totally going to be fine. Now, there are some companies I think that are topping out. I think Tempest is a little bit more on the fence about it, but I still think Tempest is pulling in great numbers, and the revenue part is one of the biggest things right now. You want to make sure you're getting implanted into this ecosystem of AI, semiconductors, and everything that's working right now. Because then once you get to that point, you're almost not too big to fail, but you're setting yourself up so you don't fail, which again was the real smart thing by Palantir. They were really early to the game with AI, focusing on government relationships, which those relationships are going nowhere. You constantly have government officials saying they're using AI for everyday decisions. So again, I just don't think it's going anywhere. But again, Tempest is a more at-risk name in my personal opinion in the long term. I think Palantir is probably safer. I hate to use that word, but again, that's how I view them, what I'm looking at, why I'm watching. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. I recommend following on Twitter so you get all the updates as well. And another thing I do want to say, don't even really mean to do an ad, but if you guys trade futures, my fund of futures this is the craziest deal. I don't know when this is going to end. It's going to end sometime. I don't know when, but $59 all in for an account is stupid. It's cheaper than anything. For instance, Top Step, I believe, is $50 straight up and then a $50 activation fee. That's crazy. So anyways, my fund of futures, this is absolutely insanity. Check it out. Links down below. Code JEFE gets you the discount too. I think it's 79, but it gets you down to 59. So anyways, have a good one. If you have any questions, comment down below. I appreciate all of you. See you guys tomorrow.